We also talk to Tom E. Curran, NBC Sports Boston, high noon every Tuesday. We call it a Tom E. Tuesday. He's brought to you by your New England Chevy dealers. Together, let's drive. Tom E. Curran, how we doing this week? Hopefully better than the football team week one.
Everything's fine. I'm fine. They're fine. Everything's going to be fine.
Or were you the dog meme? Is that what you are in the fire? Is that what were you doing that?
Yeah. It's a game. It's the 29th best team in the league losing to like the 28th best team in the league from last year. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but we
gotta realize,
Tom. Yeah, but don't you and everybody else have to realize that the expectation is this will not be the 29th best team in the league this year. They should be a lot better than that, right?
One would think. How many minutes of football have you seen so far?
60.
Well, I watched like 58. 60. I turned it off.
You checked out.
I went to red zone.
Yeah. See, that's actually what I'm talking about today. You know, we do our show emails. You come on the shows, and there is the difference between urgency and panic. And I'm wondering how well the Patriots are going to negotiate that, because I'm feeling a little bit of panic that we heard from Mike Vrabel to an extent. And it's not panic. He's not exuding it, but you need more data on Drake Maye to know whether or not you need to start taking things off his plate. You need more data from a guy who played 26 college games compared to Jaden Daniels, 55, who's 22 years old. You knew he was young when you drafted him. You knew he was raw. As Bill Belichick said, he needs more work than anybody else in terms of fundamentals when Bill was in the media. If you monkey with him too much, you're going to turn him into Sam Darnold. So on Monday after the first game, when he had moments of competency and the team threw for more gross passing yards than at any time since the 2023 opener against the Eagles, yeah, be concerned. And definitely have a problem with him dropping the friggin' ball. That wasn't a strip sack. And have a problem with him walking into a sack on Will Campbell, and have a problem with him overthrowing people. But say, we're going to get through this. Not, we're going to get this. It's too much on him. So it's a very hard spot they're in.
Well, and that was a pretty easy question to answer. I mean, Keefe said it earlier, just say, no, we don't have too much on his plate. Like, that was an easy one to shoot down. So clearly he's somewhat concerned about it. Phil asked the question, which I thought was interesting. Like, I wonder what he's heard and what you've heard, but it sounds like you don't, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, you don't think there's too much on his plate, though, initially.
I'm just observing. I mean, honestly, Phil asked the question, you said you wonder what he's heard. I mean, honestly, I think that we observe and go to the press conferences. There's not a whole mess of – they don't know what they have either yet. So we're not getting a whole ton of stuff yet from the team. And when we do talk to people, it's like generally mirrors what we see. I don't think there's too much on his plate, but that's not for me to decide. You know, if you go into this week and say, well, Josh, we don't want as many audibles, which I think is a totally separate conversation as to whether or not you need to scrutinize the very accomplished play caller publicly like that and how well he's going to react. Let's not do audibles. Let's just run the play. 2nd and 12, and Josh is going to look over and go, okay, now we're in 2nd and 12, and we're just exactly the same place we were in. So is that the answer? That's stuff for them to decide. But this is what they signed up for when they took him with the 3rd overall pick. A guy who needs a lot of development.
Did you read Vrabel's response as more of a, hey, maybe Drake Maye should be able to figure it out better, or Josh McDaniels needs to better cater the offense to him? Like, who is it do you think it was directed more at?
I think it's directed more at you have the ability to audible. Josh gives you that ability to audible because he's your coach. You're audibling. I don't know. I mean, who decides that he's going to audible? Obviously, it's a look. Mm-hmm. But once the 15 seconds comms shut off, it's on him. Now, is Maye really seeing something that I really ought to audible out of this? Is he doing it by the book as he's supposed to? Is he allowed to veer if he feels something might work? There's just, I look at him and he's got a very busy brain. I think that Maye does. You can almost see it by the way he plays the position and by the way he communicates verbally. He's a busy brain guy. So I don't know who you tell to stop audibling, or if you just plow through and let them learn the position. I mean, the game, I'll say this, every single player says the game slows down for them as they get better. The game, I think, is still going 100 miles an hour.
Tommy Curran, NBC Sports Boston, every Tuesday here on Jones and Keefe. You mentioned you observe as you're down there. So what have you observed or even heard when it comes to Maye, McDaniels, Vrabel, that marriage? How would you describe it?
I think it's good. I didn't have a problem with the McDaniels comment last week in which he said, I think we're trying to get him to understand what we're doing. I didn't think that was read a little bit too literally. I think that all you can ask if you're the coaches from Maye is that you're trying to understand it, that you're putting the time in, etc. You can't ask an individual to be different. And you can only ask them to try as hard as they can. And I don't think there's any level of dissatisfaction with the amount of trying. But in the same way you have to wait for Christian Gonzalez's hamstring to heal, you also have to exhibit patience with an individual's ability to master what you're asking them to do. And I wonder if, a couple of weeks ago, Greg Bedard had criticized Maye's fundamentals and said he was getting sloppy and he's regressed and he might be worse than he was when he got here. And I strongly disagreed with that. Now I see what he's talking about. He's nowhere near as bad as he was when he got here with fundamentals. But his fundamentals were pretty sloppy on Sunday. Wide open, even on the touchdown pass. He's wide open to the target. And he might have had to throw it that way with touch, but, the fundamentals on some of the throws, the decision-making on some of the throws, not just the pick. And I still don't understand how you drop the friggin' ball. And that's not gotten as much attention as I think it should. That wasn't a strip sack. That was a flat fumble. He didn't get touched before the ball came out. So he has to slow down, and they have to be patient with him over the course of time. The question, too, as to how McDaniels and Vrabel are doing, I don't have any intel that it's not great, but I look at Vrabel specifically scrutinizing and theorizing about we got to run the ball more. We got to be stubborn when we get to the line sometimes and not look for perfect. And we might have to take more off of Drake's plate. Those are all salvos at the offensive decisions being made. Josh is a prideful guy. He's got a lot of accomplishments. Is he comfortable with being singled out or questioned publicly after the first game? So maybe Vrabel doesn't see it as such, and maybe McDaniel says that's what he's supposed to do. He's at the podium. He's being honest. And maybe not, but it's going to require people to put their egos in their pockets to get where you want to go.
Well, yeah, speaking of being comfortable and egos and everything else, Josh McDaniels also looking around the other offensive coaches and be like, these are all Vrabel guys. Because every single one of them is coached with Vrabel in the past, and they all have different positions on the staff. That's going to be a little bit of a different thing for McDaniels that he's used to.
Yeah, and he's tried to be open, and, everybody's happy in May, June, and July, and he tried to incorporate different things from different people. But again, I'd say it's 60 minutes. It's just 60 minutes of football, and we have 6 days until the next game, so we are going to scrutinize continually everything that is said, especially things that feel juicy. And we should, because that's the job. But I just would say it's just 60 minutes. Had they gotten better results, had they played better defense, they win the game, and we're not having that conversation. But to me, I think, McDaniels is not on an island by any stretch, but I would think it would be stupid if the Patriots start toe-tapping about, hey, Josh, where are the results with this kid? They're not good. They don't have a lot of depth and talent. Their offensive line played better than expected. They're not in a position to toe-tap. That's where I get back to the panic versus urgency. Be urgent all you want, but don't panic.
You mentioned Christian Gonzalez a little bit earlier. He is their best player, but we're going on about 6 weeks without seeing him. Have you heard anything on that front? And is it one of those things where if we don't see him at practice tomorrow, are we already starting to rule out week 2?
Oh, definitely. If he's not at practice tomorrow and can't run around, you can't expect a guy to go with no practices and then run around in Miami and launch yourself at Tyreek Hill and Jaden Waddle. So to me, yeah, it's Jalen Waddle. Yeah, it definitely would be a concern. I mean, does the guy need surgery? Should he have had surgery out of the chutes? We don't know if there was a setback that was avoided. We don't know if he aggravated it during rehab. We don't know if it was a grade 9 tear. We know nothing. So as a result, you just sit there and say, does the kid need a hamstring transplant? I mean, this is a long time for a strained hamstring.
Would you give him one of yours, Keefe? He could have one of mine.
No, I need these.
Oh, you need both?
Yeah. I run around and play soccer with the girls. Like I can't be messing around with that.
If it gets him out there this weekend, I'd give him one of mine. I want to circle back to Drake for a moment because we need to get this week's Drake Take.
Yes.
From Tom E. Curran, presented by your New England Chevy dealers. Together, let's drive. Now, Curran, I know you were quite high on J.J. McCarthy in his draft year. We've spent some time today talking about the 2024 draft class. You get to pick. You get Drake Maye or you get J.J. McCarthy. Who are you taking?
I would still take J.J. McCarthy. He's as fast, if not faster. His arm is just as strong as Drake Maye's, even though he could use a little bit more touch. I really, really, really like his personality and command as a leader and his ability to articulate things. I think he's a good player. Not that Drake Maye is not, but I think that J.J. McCarthy is a more polished player at this juncture, and you saw it at Michigan than Drake Maye was coming out from a 7-4 North Carolina team where he had a lot of fundamental things to clean up.
Huge fourth quarter for McCarthy last night in that win. Speaking of draft
he's
picks,
all moxie.
He is. He's full of it.
Look, there was some moxie. He's got
the eye black all over his cheeks.
Yeah.
He's full of it. What did you think of Will Campbell's NFL debut?
Good. He played good. Then he didn't.
Okay.
He got hosed on the sacks. Both of the sacks he got hosed on. Maye saw some traffic around his feet that came from the interior, and Campbell had his area blocked up, and Maye wandered into that sack. Better off had Maye retreated a little bit and moved to his left, but I think I have yet to see Drake Maye move to his left. But that's probably what he should have done, and there wouldn't have been that initial sack. And, yeah, he definitely got beat on the inside move, but not to the level of the disaster 9-yard strip sack when the ball falls out of the kid's hand. So that wasn't great, but worse with the false starts. That's idiocy. That's just horrendous, turning a 4th and 5 into a 4th and 10, which, again, let's just hit that for a second, because we've had so many people get caught up in these coaching decisions to punt or not punt as if they're clear as a bell. And to me, a lot of them are 55-45. I had no problem with their punting. I had a problem with a 63-foot punt from Bryce Behringer. So that's okay. Coaches put it in the hands of the players. Player F's up. Then you have 3rd and 20. Maybe you shouldn't have blitzed, but still you should be able, Carlton Davis, to stop a 3rd and 20 pass and not give up 25. So the decision from what happened or should have happened was sound. What actually happened, thanks to the players, was poorly carried out. So to me, that, I think that was an interesting juncture too. I just went from Will Campbell to the coaching decision.
No,
how about that?
Well, but it's a good segue because I wanted to ask you about Terrell Williams. Your latest is up now at NBC Sports Boston, assessing what's fixable from the Patriots' sloppy showing against the Raiders. They gave up a ton of big plays to Geno Smith in the passing game. Geno shredded him for the second year in a row. You asked about the approach of Terrell Williams, who we really don't know a lot about in his first year as defensive coordinator, not only with the Patriots, but in his life. They blitzed a ton. It was a lot of boom or bust on defense. Do you think they go back to the drawing board on that approach? How did you view that approach week one? I'm curious your thoughts on Terrell Williams' first game as D coordinator.
I bet they're going to stick with that. And I give... Look, if you're going to swing for the fences, swing for the fences. That's a home run strikeout approach. And they can point to the scoreboard and say, you should be able to score more than 20 points in the NFL if you have the 3rd overall pick and a really good offensive coordinator. And you put up the yards that the Patriots did. You should get more than a touchdown and 2 field goals. So their approach was defensible, especially since it created 4 sacks, which was far exceeds the general output in any game last year, except for the 9 sacks against Justin Fields. But I look at this approach and say it's Russian roulette. And which way do you go? Are you blitzing because you don't think that you can hold up in man long enough? Are you blitzing because you think that you're going to speed people up and create turnovers? Is it a byproduct of not having Gonzalez? Is it just the way it's going to be week in and week out? But it's got to be embarrassing to go into halftime having allowed the number of 20-plus yard plays that they had and then to come out and actually be worse in the second half in terms of big plays yielded. And that's gotten very little scrutiny because the end result was a 13-point output by the offense. But it bears watching.
What was your take on the Steph Diggs usage? He was targeted certainly a decent amount, at least for the percentages of times that he was out there. Is this or he's coming back from an injury, or maybe he's trying to figure out the playbook, a combination of both? Why do you think – I think he finished 4th on the receiver depth chart in snaps?
Probably a little bit of both. Mostly I think, though, that at this juncture, when you're in a 3-receiver set, you might end up looking at, Diggs should be out there in a 3-receiver set. I just think Booty's better than him right now. They don't necessarily play the exact same position, but you're going to have Booty, Mac Hollins, and Demario Douglas oftentimes in that 3-receiver set. Not that Diggs shouldn't be out there, and I thought that he was eased in well and played well. But I think he's still getting used to the water a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Before we let you go, there was a little, a heavily covered comment from Bill Belichick over the weekend where he said he wasn't allowed in the Patriots facility. Mike Vrabel answered that question yesterday on Greg's show. From what you've heard, is there anything to Bill saying he's not allowed at the Patriots facility?
No. I think that he more said, I'm not welcome there.
I'm sorry, welcome is the right word. Yeah, not allowed is too strong. But do you agree with that characterization?
No. I don't. He was welcomed by 70,000 fans last year at Tom Brady's retirement ceremony. And a day before Bill said that, Kraft had told Dan Roche at WBZ that they're going to put a statue up of him once he retires. No, it's gaslighting of the highest order. And a bunch of people will walk away and go, wow, I guess they don't want him up there, huh? Huh. That's not the case. They just didn't want you to coach anymore up here.
Speaking of returns, last thing for me, Jabril Peppers signing with the Steelers. So Patriots' next home game, Peppers will be back in town. Do you think he'll have much to say, or do you think he'll just be pretty quiet about it?
He's a very good talker. Mm-hmm. He's a smart guy, and he's a prideful guy. So, we'd get a day out of that, wouldn't we?
Yeah, sure would.
We're kind of fingers crossed for
fingers
him. So
crossed.
We're waiting on it. Yeah.
Fingers crossed if you're on the radio.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you get Tommy Curran on the radio every Tuesday at high noon. You can catch him on Thursdays on WEEI afternoons all over NBC Sports Boston. Quick Slants tonight. So check it out. You can follow him on Twitter.
No.
Oh, no Quick Slants tonight.
Thursday Quick Slants now. Thursday Quick Slants.
Oh, so is that new this year?
Calendar figured out, Jones.
Thursday Quick Slants. My mistake.
Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast will be on at 6.
Oh, well, there you go. There it is. Regardless, you're getting some Tommy Curran on NBC Sports Boston. Check that out tonight. Check out Quick Slants on Thursday, and check out Tom next week when we talk to him at high noon. We appreciate it, Tom.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you, Tom.